Um, so very quickly, right? So yesterday I was yesterday afternoon to be precise, I was watching YouTube and then I watched the podcast. Um, I think the podcast was interviewing Juju Levesque, right? And then she briefly touched about like being fresh for the next person so that you can provide like escapism for that person, right? And then it hits me that, um, for the like to a very large extent we're here to like provide escapism for providing escape. Jesus said it should be your brother's keeper, right? So providing escapism is like it also says you should love your neighbor as yourself, right? So I think providing escapism is a form of like service to your neighbor. Do you understand? Providing a world where they can escape to, is a form of service, right? So I watched that, and then very innocently too, I watched like this like another YouTube video after that, and that YouTube video was about a book owner in England. He has a bookshop. He has a small bookshop in England. I think the bookshop is called Sherlock and Pages, right? And he was talking about how many books he sold. He was just talking about his experience as a book owner, right? I watched that and then I slept. And I think it was God that but the escapism thing, right, kind of like stuck to me because I was like, if you think about it, right, it's really about providing escapism for people. I won't say that's the sole reason why we're here, right? But it's like a huge part of like being human or being of service to people is providing a form of escapism for them, right? And when you think about it, things like food, things like YouTube videos, things like a lot of things that we have on this planet is just like is escapism and experience. I think escapism has like a negative connotation to it. So let's not use the word escapism again. Let's say experiences, right? Okay, cool. Now, what if we could generate like and create endless experiences, right? Like an experience that is always fresh, right? Right? Okay. Enter, surprise, surprise, AI, right? AI has the power to create like endless like experiences for people, endless escapism for people, right? A world that you could just escape into, right? So this morning when I woke up, right, the Holy Spirit put something in my head, right? Think about like imagine like Amazon, like imagine like Kindle, right? But like every book on there is like AI generated. That I know. People don't want to like if it on the surface, yeah, that sounds doesn't sound very nice because who would want to read like an AI generated book, right? But of lately, right, all these all these AI has been getting good lately. Let's just be honest, and they've been getting really good at reasoning models, right? Now, a lot of the AI companies are very focused on things like the AI is PhD level, or the AI can like replace a programmer, and all those things are cool, right? I love stuff like that for the AI, but I'm just wondering, like, okay, it can replace a programmer, it can replace a PhD, can it replace an author, right? Can this spin up Harry Potter? Do you understand? Can this give us like a Harry Potter? Can it spin up? Can it spin up J.K. Rowling essentially? Do you understand? Right? Which because that forget the program. If you create an AI that is like as good as like a mid-level programmer, right? The only person that benefits are like the tech companies, right? If you create an AI that is like PhD level, the only thing that people that benefits are the researchers ish. Do you understand? But if you make an AI that is like as good as J.K. Rowling, right? That benefits everybody. Do you understand? It means that we can have Harry Potter on demand. Do you understand? So essentially I want to create this. I think it's going to be my next app, right? I want to make this platform. It's going to be like Netflix, or it's like a Netflix for books, right? Or a Kindle, but every book there is AI generated, right? So Sam Altman, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. He put out like this tweet on X about how for GPT 4.0 is very good at like creative writing now, right? The creative writing skills of GPT-4 is like it's very good now, right? Um, so I just want to, and I tried that. I have this Bible podcast app that I'm making, right? That I've been, and I have it now that the app has like a lot of content now on it, and everything is AI generated. Every podcast there is like AI generated Bible podcast, right? Right. So I just want to. So what is if we have this all this AI that is just like we have all this very powerful AI, right? It would be a shame that we're not putting them to use in that, to create like experiences, to create escapism for people. So the first experiment I'm doing is I'll try this with Kindle, right? I'll create like an AI based book catalog, like Kindle, think Amazon, think Kindle essentially, like a Netflix of books, right? But every book is AI generated. And then you'd also be able to do stuff like, and this could also be, and we could just feed off this and make Audible too, because there's nothing stopping you, right? Create like an audiobook, an audiobook library that is just based off AI, the AI generated audiobooks, right? And I think the reasoning models would excel at this. Do you understand? So you're not going to. So I think the way this is, I think to pull this off convincingly, right? The AI would have to pull this off convincingly. I think the normal AI, they can't pull this off, right? But the reasoning models can pull this off, right? And to pull it off convincingly, you have to take it page by page. Do you understand? So my first how do you say it now? My first inclination, or the first way I thought I would like pull this off, right, would be to use, Amazon has like this huge collection of books, right? Amazon books, right? You can search books, and all that, right? So my first thought was that, okay, I'll just use it like a platform like Amazon Books, right? You go to Amazon Books, right? So let's say we just show you the books that are available, and then when you click a book, right, instead of reading that book, we'll take the title. The AI is going to take the title. The AI is going to take the cover of the book. The AI is going to take the description of the book, and then the AI will chapter by chapter, page by page, craft a story based off the book, right? Just use the book as an inspiration and craft a story and make like a story of it, right? And we're going to use like reasoning models, right? So for instance, let's say a good example would be like a book like Children of Blood and Bone. I'm using Children of Blood and Bone because that's like in the last that's like the last book I read, technically. So imagine like Children of Blood and Bone, right? So in the app we can click on something like Children of Blood and Bone, and then Amazon, the book has like a title, Children of Blood and Bone. The book has like it has a cover, yeah, and the book also has like a short description on Amazon. So we can feed off that, and then the AI can craft a story based on it. Can create a story like a full book based on it, and we know the page count. We know that okay, the book has like 200 pages ish, right? So the AI we can use a reasoning model to do page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, like that, one by like a proper story. And cool thing here is that you'll be able to do stuff like you can like I don't know how to say it in English, but you can like you have like it's very granular in the sense that you can like control the destiny of every character in the book, yada yada yada. You could just you could take it anywhere. So essentially the idea is like this AI generated, like a Netflix for books. Do you understand? But every book is AI generated, and I said that I believe that these reasoning models, like the other normal AI before, they can't pull it off. But these reasoning models, all this R1, all this, if it's good enough, if it can do PhD level, if it can replace a PhD level researcher, or if the AI can replace a PhD level researcher, or if it can replace like a mid-level programmer, which, like I said earlier, doesn't really benefit anybody. The PhD level programmer, the only person it benefits are like the big companies, right? Because they're the ones looking to hire programmers. The PhD level researcher, the mid-level programmer, the PhD level researcher, the only person he benefits is like all these labs essentially, right? Yeah. So if you can do all that, you should also be able to give us JK Rowling. If you, like, can the AI, is it JK Rowling level yet in terms of creative writing? If it's JK Rowling level yet in terms of creative writing, that can benefit everybody because, like I was saying, it means that it can, what JK Rowling did was she created Harry Potter. Harry Potter is escapism at its finest. It's like the finest, and that's why a lot of people loved it because it provided this it was like a great escape for a lot of people. Do you understand? Especially around the time when it came out, that whole 2000s when like the world was like, it was almost as if it was crumbling with all the terrorism and everything that was happening around that time. And then she just came out with Harry Potter and everybody was like, okay, fine. We leave you in this your war. Because there was so much war. People were like, families were getting torn apart. It was like a very terrible time. I was very small at the time, but I was like, I can't remember in detail, but the vibe of that time was not the nicest, right? So she created this book and everybody just escaped into it. So if we have, essentially what I'm saying is that if we have all this AI that can again, replace mid-level programmer, replace researcher, which are these things are good, don't get me wrong, right? It should also be able to at least, maybe not JK Rowling, but maybe not JK Rowling, but something along those lines, so that we can create a reporter on demand, essentially. So that's what I want to do, essentially. I'm going to create this Netflix of books or Kindle, if you wish, because Kindle technically is Netflix of books. But everything is going to be AI based. Okay, cool. So how do we do this, right? So I was saying how we're going to do it. I was planning to do it. So the first technique that hit my head was go on Amazon Books, get a pick around. User can pick, like, let's say there's a book you want to read, or there's a book you have read, like, again, for the nth time, Children of Blood and Bone. Let's say you've read it, right? The AI can take the title, can take the summary of the book, it can take the description of the book, the cover, and then it can create its own version of the book for you so that you can read it. Do you understand? It doesn't mean you can't, and it can still, obviously, it doesn't stop you from getting the original book. But this one is for free. This one is just based off what the AI, based off that, right? And this will work for literally any book that is available on this planet, right? As long as it's on Amazon Books, you can just get the title, and then we'll generate a page. I noticed that if you tell the AI, so why are we doing page by page, right? The reason why it's page by page is because if you just tell the AI to, I noticed that if you tell AI to generate the whole book, right, it's going to do it's going to give you a generic, it's not going to do a very good, it's not going to give you a very convincing, it's not going to be as good, essentially. And the whole purpose of this is escapism. You want to be able to create an endless escape. Do you understand? For people. Right. So that's my first, the first thing that came to my head. When those people gave me the idea, that was the first thing that came to my head. So I ran that through ChatGPT, of course. I was like, hey, what do you think about it? And he was like, copyright. And yeah, okay. I can understand why that's a bad thing, right? Cognitively, I can understand why that's a terrible thing, and it has legal issues. So, very quickly I came up with a hack-ish, right? So instead of so this is step 2 now. So I was instead of going on Amazon Books and grabbing the title, and grabbing the title of the book, grabbing the summary of the book, grabbing the reviews of the book to better understand what the book is. Why don't we just go on something like Goodreads? Goodreads actually provides Goodreads provides summaries of books, and it's user-generated summary. It's not an auto-generated summary. So if we are basing the AI, if the AI is basing the story of what he reads off Goodreads, right, then it's a way of dodging any copyright or any illegal stuff, because I'm not so again, Children of Blood and Bone, I'm not the AI is not reaping children of blood and bone, if you will. Is reaping instead is reaping like a user generated like thought of children of blood. I don't know how to explain it in English. So I gave it that. It was like, yeah, it's technical, right? And then there's this parable in the Bible where Jesus said that there's a guy that built his house on. There are two guys. One built his house on like a solid rock, and then when the wind came, when everything came right, the house like stood. Nothing happens to the house. And then this other guy that built his house on sand, and then the house was solid at first, and then the wind came, all these things came, and then boom, the house was like small wind like this, the house fell down. Right? So I asked ChatGPT that, what does he think? Using that analogy. And then it was like Goodreads too is not like a very it's not like a very good, it's like Goodreads essentially is like building your house on like sand essentially. Because it was just like it wasn't a good idea, right? And then that's why he now recommended this thing to me. It's called Project Gutenberg, right? Is this library of 75,000 like free books, essentially. So I might start with Project Gutenberg. I don't know, which I think it makes sense a little bit. So I think I'll start with Project Gutenberg, and no, we won't start with Project Gutenberg. I'll start with Arabian Nights, 1001 stories, right? Let it spin out. Let me see how well the reasoning models can like spin out. We just take like a story out of like the Arabian Nights story, and then we'll see like I'll read the original story, and I'll be like, okay, give me like a spin something, give me like an alternate version of this. Do you understand? I think that would be like a good way to test. The reasoning models are good though. I just want to see how much of. I'm not trying to test the reasoning models. I'm trying to test the how do I say it, escapism, right? Because I just want to create like this world like people can escape. So like escapism, I think is very important these days, right? Like I said, I was watching an interview yesterday, and she mentioned that being fresh I think she was talking about performing at like I think it's called Moulin Rouge or something like that. And being fresh for the next guest so that you can provide an escape for them. And that's when it hits me like, this whole thing is about escapism to a large extent. Like it's like the highest form of like, is the highest form of like, second highest form of like, is the second highest form of like being your brother's keeper, is the second highest form of like loving your neighbor as yourself. Do you understand? You're providing like a escapism. And AI is very good at providing escape. Literally, that's their job. So that's how it is. That's what I want to try next. I'll start with. I'm going to start now with like Arabian Nights, 1001 story. I'll see like I'll use like reasoning models. I don't know how to explain it in English. And then we can do this with Audible too, because the Audible is just AI generated. It's just like voiced ebooks, right? So Audible we can also do this or something like Audible, like AI generated audiobooks. But I don't want this to be like shovelware, like I don't know how to explain it. It has to be good. It has to be like convincing. It has to be mad. Do you understand? Right. I don't want to just make it like generic and just shovelware. Which is why we need something to like base it off. Or we can base it off the books that you have bought, essentially. So we could you can buy the book. If I don't know if Amazon has like Kindle has like an API. So let's imagine they have like an API or maybe Apple Books. Let's say they have like an API for the books that you have in your that you have bought in your catalog. Then you can the AI can generate can give you a reimagined version of it, essentially. So that way you are not we're not the author is it's everybody's happy, essentially. It's like an outcome where everybody's happy. I don't know. I don't even know why I'm worried about the moral side of this. Usually I just create it first and then later I think about the morality of it. But I don't know why I'm worried about it in the first place. Um, so yeah, that's it. And then it's just like a race down to how long before we have like a prop, forget Netflix or books, like a proper Netflix where every movie is like AI generated. You know, how are we mad? Yeah. I don't even want to think about it. That was too much. Let's not even think. Let's not even go there. Let's just start with something simple like book. I just have like the whole Kindle feel to it. Like it's like almost like you're reading Kindle. You're the whole black and white aesthetic. Let's not talk about it. I don't. Let me go back inside and talk about like Arabian Nights 1001. Let's do Arabian Nights as an experiment. Let me just see how much of an escape it can give me. Okay. A good example of this. So I went on Project Gutenberg right now, yeah, and I stumbled on a book called The Sirens. It's like the book that is on their front page, right? I think the book is very old, right? So imagine that book, right? But like a sci-fi retelling of the book, right? So instead of the sirens being about like sirens and water, right? It could be space. Do you understand? So like I just asked ChatGPT for like a rewrite of the book, but reimagined it as like a sci-fi novel, right? So this is instead of sirens, it's going to be like aliens. Do you understand? It could be like an alien, like a bunch of aliens, right? And then luring them into like a black hole instead of like the ocean depths. It could just be substituted for like a black hole. Do you understand? Like, and that's like just like, so imagine, you've read the sirens, right? But now this is the same sirens, but in sci-fi version, and we're going to take it page by page so that the AI can be very granular about the creation. It's not just generic stuff back to you. Do you understand? So imagine that. Imagine like a Steam library with like AI generated games. Like it's just going to be crazy. The next few years are going to be very crazy. But that's like a story for another day. Let's just take it one by one. Also, another thing that I'm going to add to it is this feature. You know this thing people say, let him cook. That meme, right? Let him cook, right? Okay, cool. But so there's going to be like a feature inside the app called Let Him Cook, where you can combine a couple of books. You pick a couple of books, and then AI will generate a new book based off those couple of books. So imagine a combination of the Sirens, Pilgrim's Progress. So the Sirens plus Pilgrim's Progress plus let's say Children of Blood and Bones, or the Sirens plus Harry Potter and Children of Blood and Bones, or something like that. 3 books like that. You combine it. You pick those 3 books, right? And then AI will generate like a fresh book of that, like of those 3 books that you just picked. We're going to call it Let Him Cook, right? Stuff. There's so many things that this thing can do. Help people create escapism. Like, do you understand? So yeah, I'll come back to it as I'm getting like as I'm got to put like new ideas in my head. I'll come back and be putting them here.